jerky drummer from another planet. Father Moo on Sunday. What's this? Are we traveling back in time? Don't I recognize this funky beat? Funky beat, funky beat. Funk. Just kidding, I won't rap at you. Just thought I would open the stream with the beat from the last time. This is a good beat. I like that. Beat. Boom. But we gotta do something new. Okay. Even more than usual, I only have the loosest of outlines today. I shared that book with you that shows all those different methods of synthesis, including, car plus strong to simulate a physical object, and things like additive synthesis and FM synthesis, all that stuff is all crazy. Well, I'm not going to use the book to help me out today because I believe in being unprepared and making it all up as you go. But I am going to do something. I think the concept is covered in that book and certainly is not something I invented. What we're going to do today is look at distortion as it applies to synthesis, or what if being really metal was actually synthesis the whole time. Yep, you heard it here first, folks. So these are the three distortion-like circuits that they're not circuits, they're modules that the Nord Modular offers me: clip, overdrive, and wave rep. And conveniently, they all have little screens so you can see what's going on. So without further ado, I'm going to build a voice and, ping it, run it through the envelope so you can hear it. But most importantly, after that, we're going to distort it and see what that does to things. And, filters are what most people think of. Like when you see a synthesizer or hear a guy messing around on it, you think of like the wow sound that a low-pass filter makes. It's almost indistinguishable from a synthesizer. And I think that's how a lot of people pick their synths. They say, well, what does a filter sound like? And especially if you have a certain old type of digital filter, if it's too steppy, if it doesn't filter the sound smoothly, the people are going to say, no, that's bad, I don't like that thing, make it go away. But we don't have to rely on filters for synthesis. We can do our sound processing with distortion. Why? Because we can. So let's bypass the distortion for now and just make sure we're getting a sound. I've got a gate here. Okay. Adjust the ADSR. Yeah. We're getting there. Okay. Make it more slowly here. Okay, nice. I don't really know if a sine wave is the ideal source for distortion, but I do know that a sine wave is the ideal source for wave rep, one of the three bad boys that we have here on the schedule today. So I think I do want to do some multi-oscillator stuff. Must be pushing the wrong button here. There we go. That's the sound. Wow. So you got 2 octaves below the source material. Let's start going up. There's the 5th above. I can live with that. And then so now we have a minor chord, although it's very dominated by bass sounds. We are getting sound from all over the spectrum here. We're not just getting mid-range or upper or lower, because we have 6 octaves, 6 oscillators tuned separately. We're getting it all over. It might be interesting. Are you annoyed yet? I am. I'm just gonna pump some random CV into the amplitude inputs of the sine bank so that they adjust their volume levels semi-randomly. There we go. So my chord will change in terms of not which note is being played, but how loud each note is being played. And it's a bit wobbly now. Cool. So as I said, let's start from the bottom. Now we're here, as a great man once said. Let's start with the wave wrapper. As I dial it in, whoa. It's good. Whoa, dude. Notice that it tends to dominate the beginning of the sound, but to fade out near the end. Yeah. Still pretty cool. I don't have a level amount to see if I'm actually clipping here. In that sense, I mean digitally distorting. And why don't I want to do that? Because I'm trying to synthesize my distortion. I'm going to lose things here. I'm trying to synthesize my distortion inside my signal chain. That doesn't mean I want to just overdrive my sound card. I mean, if we're saying distortion is synthesis, great. But let's know where the distortion is taking place. Well, nothing's maxed out here, so... Okay. What if we ran a random guy into that? And we don't know when it's going to become distorted. It's a very terrible, by which I mean good, sound. Anyways, let's bypass him and switch to another form of distortion, just so we can hear the different flavors that are on offer. Dial it up. Less of an effect. I'm barely getting anything. There's a little bit of distortion. Okay. So maybe this is me, as I said, not doing my homework and not knowing which waves really lend themselves to being distorted. Perhaps a sawtooth or a square would be better. I guess we have this processing power and we have the time, so let's dive in and see if we can come up with something. Let's get the biggest and baddest oscillator of all. I'm going to make the blue cables go away because they're in my way. And yeah, I don't even have a filter on. Oh, let's just leave that. So I'm taking that oscillator out, putting him in. He's in sine wave right now. Let's go through them. Not much of a change. And even if we modulate that, Well, it sounds cool, but it's just a square wave. I get a bit if I totally max it out. Let's go back to the wrapper. Hold on. Whoa. Still cooler. Let's change. I'm going to change waves again. It's not giving me as much on this one. Well, triangle is very similar to sine, so I'm not surprised that I get more of a usable sound there. Okay, so if we've learned anything, let's just mute this for a second while we take a breather from the Brutalica sounds. Wave wrap works great with sine, and it works great with triangle. I liked what it was doing to the square as well, although it's not as dramatic. And with sawtooth, it was kind of a wash. But overdrive, at least in this context, didn't do much of anything at all. Oh, I'm suddenly struck by the idea. Maybe you remember our first community patch. Homeboy put in a shaper, signal shaper. He was putting that right after a drum module, which is a short, sweet gate. We have a bit of a longer tone here, but let's leave him in the mix and see if we experiment with him later. So I'm going to dial back to the original sines. I'm still liking this overall tonality. I think there's a lot of potential here. Let's go on to the last of the three, Clipper. See what he has to say. Again, watch the screen as I dial the knob. Okay, we're getting some distortion there. I don't know if you can see what it did, but it, like, look at the green. It literally clipped off this side, and you can make it symmetrical, which clips off both sides. It's a little dirty and a little distorted, but it's not amazing. I just added some modulation. It's kind of too subtle for me to hear. Let's go into the other waves and see what we get. Oops, I lost it. This is square wave again. But really what you're hearing is his pulse width modulation, not the change in sound. So I kind of don't know what I did wrong here, but I'm not willing to give up. I'm going to call this... I'm going to go to another patch in a sec. I have a reason for that. For now... I'm going to call this 35 Dist Factory, because it's a factory where we make distorted sounds. So we got these guys here. Let's just do something only modulars can do. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to load our first patch ever. Remember this bad boy? That's Proto Drum Machine. So, I think I should be able to paste them in here. Control V. Yeah, right here. There we go. And there's the 4 modules from the other patch, the miracles of modern computing. You can even see a white cable. I was using a modulation source, which is not present here. So they gave me the cable, but I didn't copy the source, so they didn't give me that. So I'll just give him something to modulate about. They should turn to normal color again. So why did I drag everybody over to this old ass patch? Because before we had the sine cloud, or we had individual waves being run into the distortion. We weren't really hearing what I expected to hear. So my solution to that issue is, let's jam a different sound source into the distortion and see what we get out of that. Because in the end, if you're feeding it the wrong thing, that's on you. Like, you got to give him the sound source that he was designed to work with. Otherwise, it's going to be lackluster. So we're taking those 2 drum sounds you just heard so repetitively. Let's plug them into, let's go back to overdrive down here. And I'll run him back into the mixer for you. So there's nothing in the modulator. Let's dial up the knob. Okay, there we go. See what a difference that makes? So overdrive didn't do too much on the multiple sine waves, but on these drum modules it's doing a heck of a lot. This is them clean again. Notice it, like, I don't know any other way to say this except the kick drum is not farting. It's not overdriving the speaker and going bzz. It's distorted, but it's not overloading the signal. And even the signals here, you have to trust me, but the signal on my audio input mixer is still green, not red, so we're not overdriving that. So that's what overdrive can sound like on a drum pattern. So it definitely has a function. Again, I think it was the sine waves weren't well suited to that particular processor. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's take our input and send him to the clipper instead. Same thing for the output. Let's dial him up a bit. Wow. So the clipper is, because of how he functions, he's literally letting less wave through. So although he's distorting the sound, he kind of smushes it until it's almost nothing. So at like this point, past 120, and I mean, look at the chart, it's been turned into a nothing line. But I can see how that would be useful in a musical context for sure. Let's try them with modulation. We could try turning symmetric off again. So again, in this drum pattern, the distortion can almost add tonality. It almost it tends towards a pitch. Let's turn the modulation off and you'll hear what I mean. Like right about there. It's more of a pitch than this. Well, I guess there's a bit of a pitch in that one too. But the distortion emphasizes it. Makes it sound more tunable, if that makes sense. And we got one more bad boy to try. We know the wave wrapper did work on the sine wave. He was the most popular, or I liked it. But let's try him with the drums. It seems like I can already hear yeah. So the wave wrapper is super sensitive. Even at 0, I swear I can hear him changing the sound. And there at 5, like you hear it, right? So if you're looking for an aggressive sound, I think we found it in the wave wrapper. So overdrive may sound like the kind of thing you put in a guitar signal, but here in the Nord Modular it was implemented in a more subtle way. Or maybe it's just how it affects synth sounds as opposed to guitar sounds. And finally, I promised to do it, so let me do it. Let's punch in the shaper. I don't know how this will sound, but I do know that a shaper was used on drum sounds before, so middle should be no effect. Let's try this. That's logarithmic 1 and 2. Wow, that's weird. Listen to that. And back to normal. Back to that. So the kick has gotten like sharper. I don't mean that like sharp notes. But the higher pitched note almost sounds hollow, almost like reverb. I mean, there is reverb on the... Let's just make sure we know what we're listening to here. Okay, that killed all the reverb. Let's go back again. Well, it definitely changed the sound of the higher pitch note. So again, I've just become tired of that pattern. Shaper is changing the shape of the curve. This is such a small little picture, and if you have a small computer screen, you can probably barely see the differences. But lin means linear, and then these are two variations on logarithmic. These are two variations on exponential. So this is something that math dudes know about. It has to do with the way the wave curves. For example, I guess you could say, let's look at I hope a math nerd doesn't criticize me for this, but I think I'm right here. If you look at a triangle wave, he goes straight up and straight down. So I think he is a linear type of wave. But a sine wave is like the letter S, and it curves up and then it curves down. So I think he is more like, I can't be sure if he's more like exponential or more like logarithmic. I'm guessing exponential, but I don't honestly know. So math nerds, write in with your complaints, and they will all be properly honored. So, yeah, just wanted to make these suggestions to people. If you're asking me, okay, how can I explore distortion synthesis at home without a Nord Modular of my own? Great question. You can buy a cheap, and I do recommend cheap to start, distortion pedal, like for a guitar, and just run your synth into it. If you have a pedal interface module in a modular, you can route your signal through it so it doesn't have to be at the end. If you stick a distortion pedal on the output of your synth, you're only going to be able to use it at the end. And you're probably not going to be able to modulate it, but you can just twiddle the knobs yourself. People have been doing that, of course, for ages. I didn't invent it at all. People have been overdriving their synths since forever. But try it. I would suggest finding like a nice synth pad, like a sound that holds and sustains for a long time, sort of like what we had. Well, let's go back to it for a second. Sort of like what we had in that sine wave cloud that I built for the Distortion Factory. If you can get a pad sound that sort of sustains like this, even if my example didn't work out perfectly in this factory, you'll probably have a very different kind of pad sound than the one I built. So if you run that into a distortion pedal where all the knobs are set to their lowest amounts, and then except for volume, and then you dial those knobs in slowly, you should hear them distort parts of your pad, and hopefully it will be interesting or musically pleasant. Anyway, short sermon today. more of an explanation than a sound in the end. Go into the factory, mess around with the things yourself if you want. I don't think there's an easy way to do the shaper module in any... Maybe you could do it on a hardware modular, maybe you could do it in VCV rack. I don't think you can do it in a guitar pedal, though. But these guys, especially overdrive, very similar to a guitar pedal. Wave wrapper, if you own the Arturia, I think it's Micro Brute 1 or 2, you probably already have a wave wrap signal that you can use to process your triangle wave. And for a clipper, I don't have a good option for you, but I do know one of the passive modules I ordered is called diode clipping, and it doesn't have a modulation input like this, but it does function very similarly to what you're seeing here. It literally cuts the top and the bottom off a waveform and flattens them out. So that's how it processes the waveform, maybe making it a bit thinner sounding, like when we crushed it like that. Remember that? Remember when we crushed it? So yeah, clipping, I haven't explored it in hardware myself too deeply, but if next time I mess around with it, I'll try and record a video. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate all comments and all subscribers so much. You really have no idea at this time when I'm stressed out by my job and my life. It's awesome to see people leave their comments on the YouTube channel. I don't really play shows these days, but YouTube is my show. Twitch is my show. So thank you so much again, and we'll have something more musical next time for you to listen to, but we'll keep on exploring. Peace out from Father Moo.